Blog Talk Radio.
It's not my fault. You've been lying, saying that I took away your peace. Drowning by yourself, now you wanna blame me. Like you have no options. I ain't take your options. Nah, I'm not the problem. Man, that's on you. You've been terrorizing me, yeah, I'm always wrong. I knew you lost your mind when you dropped that bomb. Girl, are you crazy? Yeah, you must be crazy. I've been thinking lately, it's you. You stole your peace, put it on me, but baby, it's you. Lie like a lie, but take your stuff back, baby, it's and I would never hear. You've been flexing everywhere. Girl, look in the mirror. Man, you so dirty. Yeah, you look so dirty. You were never worthy. Lately, it's you. You stole your peace, put it on me. But baby, it's you. Lie like a lie, but take your stuff back, baby, it's your parade. Shine, you can't see anything, yeah. If I was Father Time, then I would change the day. So I never saw your face. What do I have to do to like you?
Hello, good evening, good morning, afternoon, whatever time it may be where you are, I wish you greetings. I thank you for joining me tonight. I'm your host, CEO, what's going on Blog Talk Radio and podcast. Before I get into tonight's episode, I always give a special shout out to everybody that listens in around the United States as well as around the globe. So I always give a shout out to Tanzania, Democratic Republic of Congo, Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines, China, India, Pakistan, Japan, Russia, Sweden, Norway, United Kingdom, France, Italy, Algeria, Egypt, Sudan, Nigeria, South Africa, Brazil, Greece, Canada, and of course, always rounding it out, United States. Um, Before I get into tonight's topic, I gotta tell you, my subject matter tonight was something totally different than what I'm about to talk about. But these things that are on my mind, so sometimes I will switch up in the middle of the day. Sometimes I'll change my mind in the middle of the night, and I may have sent out a promo page um, prior to the show, and sometimes it just change depending on what I want to talk about. When it's your own show, you have the freedom to do that, and so I'm exercising that freedom tonight. And I want to talk about the former President Trump, in a timeline of events. And the reason this is on my mind is because all know that the former president, Donald Trump, incited an insurrection a few weeks ago at the nation's capital. Him and Giuliani, excuse me, Rudy Giuliani, who is his personal lawyer now. They had a rally about 16 blocks, I believe it was, from the Capitol building, and they basically told some voters to go down there, and basically they were trying to overthrow the government because, of course, on that day, election results were to be tabulated for President Joe Biden. At that time, he was President-elect Joe Biden, and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. This was a final tally of the electoral votes, but he wanted, of course, his Trumplicans. That's what I call them. He wanted them to march down there and basically overthrow. So I'm gonna give you a timeline of events happened up into that point on that day when that happened. Trump, being his typical self, of course, he would deny any wrongdoing, basically. Okay, so let's see. All right, so this is from NPR. This is that I often look at online, and they give you different information or timelines of events. And this one is titled "Timeline of Trump Told Supporters for Months Before They Attacked." Okay, so let's see. Now we know that January 6th, when the attack happened on the Capitol, and what happened was thousands of rioters disrupted Congress, killing and injuring Capitol Police officers and others in the process. The crowd had come directly from an event which had spoken to them. That's what I was just talking about. But the acts at issue stretched back much earlier than January 6th. In a legal brief filed last week, prosecutors from the House of Representatives, which impeached Trump in January, specify actions by the president many months before that day. All right, and the trial set to begin, or it's already passed. The impeachment managers, what they did was they seek to prove that his actions directly incited the insurrection. I don't know how many of you actually got a chance to listen to the second impeachment trial, but of course the evidence, the video footage, was overwhelming. I'm talking about he was really guilty. I mean, there was nothing that his lawyers said to make me think otherwise, and I'm pretty sure a lot of American citizens as well. Like I said, I'm gonna just go through. I'm gonna go back to like April 2020, right? So this is when Trump first made false claims about the security of the mail-in ballot, right? Now, mind you, had several mailboxes removed from, and we already know that, the neighborhood that he had mailboxes removed from, were, minority areas or black and brown, things like that. He removed those mailboxes, right? Okay, so that was the first thing he did. He made the false claims about the security of mail-in ballots, and he said there were mail-in ballots that are dangerous for the country because they're cheaters. He said if they go and collect them, they're fraudulent in many cases. In reality, mail-in ballots have been used safely by several states for years with significant instances of fraud. The president himself has voted by mail in the past, right? So then it was a momentous day, the day of Wisconsin's presidential primary, where voters were standing in long lines despite the risk of coronavirus, right? The state Supreme Court had rejected an effort to extend absentee balloting in the pandemic. Other states were debating vote by mail measures for the fall election, right? So, now, as soon as Trump started saying that everything was fraudulent, of course, a lot of his Trumplicans, that's what I call them, they went out and with their signs and stuff, and they would be out there saying, mail them was fraud, and telling people not to mail in their votes and stuff like that, right? So that was Trump. So they were following what the leader of the free world pretty much was telling them to do. Fast forward, June 25th, right? The Attorney General William Barr, he followed Trump's lead. He questioned ballots as well, right? So he acknowledged to NPR that the concern had no basis in fact, and he said, it's pretty obvious that anybody that followed Trump pretty much was saying it's pretty obvious that the ballots were, fraudulent, false, or whatever. They were being changed. All right, and then let's see. There was some conspiracy theory. Democrats were changing ballots, and he said they were getting dead people to vote, things like that. September 29th, and this is September 29th. This is when he told his followers basically to stand back and stand by. Now, what do you think he meant by that? All right, now we're going to keep on going. Stand back and stand by. That was during the presidential debate, right? Then election night, November 3rd. Okay, so a lot of people thought that Trump was going to win the election. Okay, so the president was widely expected to claim victory on an election night when he might be leading an early ballot count. At a White House event at 2:30 a.m., counting continued, including in crucial swing states. He falsely claimed victory. Now, the election, half the states hadn't even put their ballots in yet, but he had already said that he had won. He pretty much declared that he was the winner, and he had all these people out to the White House. And of course, when that wasn't the case, when they were still counting ballots, of course, he was talking about it's a fraud, and he woke up the next morning. In the beginning he was winning, and then all of a sudden, Biden was in the lead, so he couldn't believe it. So of course, on November 10th, Biden wins, right? News networks, including the NPR, accurately reported that Joe Biden had won the election based on the nation, rather than acknowledge the result. Every other ex-president or every other former president in the past has went on and conceded when, they knew they didn't win. Now, Trump said, no, we're going to fight this. He was just disbelief that he couldn't rig this election like he did. That's all that was. So then, on November 9th, the Republicans offered some cover. So the Senate Majority Leader, McConnell, did not repeat the president's false claims of fraud, but still defended the president. Now, even though he knew this idiot, they refused to go ahead and go calm them down like you got to do with most kids, children, clowns. You got to do sit and talk to them, right? So They refused to do that. They said he lost.